It appears that Monique has finally been vindicated nearly 15 years after she publicly called out Oprah Winfrey for blackballing her. However, we must not forget that Monique did not just expose Oprah, she also called out all the industry fakes who sided with Oprah and threw her under the bus, including Whoopi Goldberg and Steve Harvey. When I said to my little sisters, "You just got to do it, let me school you if they not paying you baby, that's called slavery," that was what I meant when I said that. Following Taraji P. Henson's recent revelation that she nearly left the recently announced Oprah-produced production of The Color Purple due to LOP, fans flocked to social media to demand that Monique apologize. Because in 2009, Monique told Taraji the same thing she is saying now, but instead of being taken seriously, she was called bitter and angry. Even her colleagues in the industry publicly criticized her for having the audacity to refuse Oprah, with Whoopi Goldberg and Steve Harvey being the most vocal opponents. Despite this, Monique resisted being silenced. Let's get into it, but none of you in real time were strong enough to publicly say we can't throw our sister under the bus. And she exposed Whoopi and Steve as Oprah's lapdogs, who only care about their own selfish interest while publicly preaching about their love for community. So what exactly did Monique say about Whoopi and Steve? And is this whole situation with Taraji proof that Monique was right all along? Just in case you overlooked it, Oprah Winfrey is receiving intense criticism when Taraji stated that she nearly left The Color Purple because the producers tried to undercut her. Oprah is a co-producer of the new Color Purple film. Directors Steven Spielberg, Quincy Jones, and Scott Sanders. Even if Oprah isn't the one giving actresses their paychecks, you would think that with her power, she would attempt to utilize it to assist Taraji get a better pay deal. However, nearly 15 years before Taraji spoke out, Monique publicly exposed Oprah for trying to lowball her. She even claimed Oprah and Tyler Perry got her blacklisted in the industry. The whole thing started after the release of the 2009 movie Precious, which was directed by Lee Daniels and produced by Oprah and Tyler Perry. But, see, that's not even the biggest issue, and maybe this wouldn't have blown up so much if this was the first time Oprah received this kind of criticism. Because of the tremendous buzz that Monique's performance generated, Tyler and Oprah requested her to go on a press tour throughout Southeast to promote the movie. Monique won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. The worst part is that they refused to pay her for it. So Monique said she would prefer to spend time with her family and husband after dedicating so much time to the film Precious. She also claimed that as soon as she turned down offers from Oprah and Tyler Perry, people began to criticize her and paint her as unreliable and difficult to work with. Following the release of Precious, Monique watched as a number of roles that came her way abruptly disappeared into thin air. And it appeared as though Hollywood had closed its doors on her. Later, Monique informed The Hollywood Reporter that Lee Daniels had acknowledged that she was being blackballed, and that, in response to her question, Daniels had said, "Because you didn't play the game." But when Monique asked Daniels to elaborate on the game, he was at a loss for words. As you can imagine, the game was essentially a warning to all Black entertainers that they should revere Oprah and never speak poorly of her, lest they be silenced. Monique refused to allow them to silence her, and she also revealed Whoopi Goldberg and Steve Harvey, who seemed to be suggesting that they were Oprah's lapdogs. "I completed all of my contractual obligations and was done. Then, I started receiving calls from Lee Daniels, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and Lionsgate asking me to come work for free because they wanted to go overseas to promote this film. I told them that I had a deal with Lee Daniels and that I had completed my job, and they all agreed." When Monique appeared on The View and explained that she had completed all of the contractual obligations for Precious before Oprah and Tyler asked her to do additional work for free, Whoopi was extremely patronizing and insisted that Monique should have gone on that tour. And this is what, in my humble opinion, happens when you don't go up to the hotel room. You see, when I think about those women who say, "I'm going to stop you, okay? I'm going to stop, okay," contractually speaking, it is indeed your job to go and promote the movie that you make, regardless of who you sign the deal with. Monique continued by saying that the studio would have sued her for breach of contract if taking a free international press tour had truly been a part of her work, but that didn't happen. It is evident that Monique understood her role and performed the tasks for which she was paid. Whoopi then went a step further and informed Monique that she could have taught her how to perform her job, And I responded saying that if you had phoned, I could have instructed you on what was expected of you. This word school didn't sit well with Monique, who later referred to Whoopi as the help in an interview with Vulture. The very thing I went to The View to speak about was the exact thing I experienced there. And when we did have that conversation, I said to you, my sweet sister Whoopi, at what point do we stop saying the next time? Because what was expected, but I want to answer it. Monique said Whoopi Goldberg has always been there to help. And I say that with humility because here is a woman who welcomed Ted Dinkon in blackface in our community and who says, I could have schooled you. Love my sister, but sometimes you have to say I can't chew this because you're being fed the wrong food. That's why I can't understand why the media and Monique's peers kept criticizing her and trying to get her to apologize to Whoopi, but Monique refused to back down and later gave an explanation for why she called Whoopi the help. Because Whoopi tried to shame her on national television for merely asking to be paid for her work. I have a woman who tells me on national television that I could have taught you well, that you wanted to teach me how I was supposed to work for free. I just don't want that kind of education. That's the education you're okay with. That's not the education I want to pass down to my little sisters who tell me that if they don't pay you, it's slavery. However, Whoopi wasn't the only one who tried to gaslight Monique and portray her as unappreciative. There was also Steve Harvey, a close friend of Oprah's who first confided in Monique that he agreed with her before criticizing burning bridges on television. Lately, Steve has come under fire for reportedly throwing some of his co-workers under the bus, to name just one instance. In addition to Monique to the list of individuals Steve deceived, the late Bernie M. said that Steve attempted to steal his role in Ocean's 11 and went behind his back to try and convince the studio to give it to him. Monique then publicly called Steve out for being a coward. Steve then invited Monique to his show to set the record straight. Despite his attempts to put her on the spot and correct her in the same way that Whoopi had attempted, Monique refused to allow Steve change the subject, and she confronted him about being two-faced. We were then branded as difficult because I had said the word no, which I had now said to a number of extremely influential people, including Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. When I heard you take off and say, my sister, I turned down both Lee Daniels and Lionsgate. You also burnt a lot of bridges. And there's nothing I can do for her now, Steve? You have no idea how hurt I was. What I would have appreciated from my brother is if you had called me before you went on the show and said, Monique, you burned too many bridges, and there's nothing I can do. Because you doing that was a sign that I was being difficult. But not before that. Yes, baby Monique also seemed to be taking a jab at Steve, implying that he was a sellout in Oprah's lapdog. And when you let people start using your freedom and gift to their advantage, we lose. When you called me on the morning show, I told you, Steve, that my family is suffering because of this. You all know that I did nothing wrong, and you all know that my husband did nothing wrong, but none of you had the courage to publicly say that we can't throw our sister under the bus in real time. Steve, however, couldn't seem to grasp that Monique was talking about sticking to your principles. He made it all about the money game, claiming that success meant being nice to certain people and watching what you revealed about them. Repercussions are the reality. We are Black people here, and we are unable to act in any manner in which we would like to be heard. Your spouse cannot pretend to be Sydney while he is here. They are not that flexing. Instead, we must flex in other ways. We are playing a game here, one that is not exclusive to Black people, not exclusive to white people, and not just about money. But Monique was having none of it. She remained steadfast, declaring that she would not compromise her morals in exchange for a huge payment. And now that Taraji P. Henson had come out to declare that she had considered walking away from Oprah's new project, fans are saying that Monique should apologize profusely for Whoopi and Steve. Let's just say that they don't have many fans in their corner. One fan claimed that when Steve Harvey made the money game comment, he effectively acknowledged everything Monique had said about him, saying, he's the comedian who isn't funny. Another fan wrote that even after 6 years, the topic is still relevant today. When Taraji P. Henson voiced her concerns about the wage gap for Black actors, Whoopi openly urged her to shut up and stop worrying about others who come after her. Monique was offered complete support and a shoulder to weep on. Although Monique has always been in the lead, what do you think of Whoopi and Steve trying to put Monique through their paces? And do you believe Tyler Perry and Oprah should apologize to Monique? After leaving a comment below, Watch the following video.